And here we go. Yes, we are recording. We are here, and the war is on. I'm surprised. This is here now, and here now we have a war, a big war. Steve, are you surprised? You were
No, I'm not.
expecting a war to
No,
happen? No?
no, I'm not. I'm not. Well, nothing U.S. imperialism does surprises me. What
Yeah.
surprises me is how people react to U.S. imperialism and how people analyze U.S. imperialism. That's what is surprising, but not even that much anymore. No, I'm not surprised. They had military boats in Venezuelan waters for months, and they eventually attacked Venezuela, and they had the boats around Iranian waters, and they
Yeah.
attacked Iran. And they can't say it's self-defense. They couldn't say it was self-defense in Venezuela. So, what the U.S. population is going to say, um, wait and see. But there's no self-defense argument anywhere. No, the arguments recently in Mexico with the murder of El Mencho, in Venezuela with the seizure, with the murders of Venezuelan citizens, Venezuelan and Cuban military personnel, and the attacks on Iran, there's no self-defense U.S. can claim. So in that sense, it is a shift from self-defense to outright aggression.
Yeah.
In that sense, I was listening to somebody a half hour ago, and they're saying that in the Bush administration, Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney would go to the United Nations, and they would say this, and they would say that. They would
Uh,
go through the pretense of legality. The Trump administration, the authoritarian fascist regime does not go through that. They established tariffs on the world that were illegal. So
yeah.
they act first and don't worry about the questions.
Uh-huh.
They act
Wow.
first. They care less about what you think about what they do. They just do it.
You're so right. It's incredible. I'm surprised because it's stupid. They're gonna lose, like they're outclassed. They've got three militaries in coordination, who are opposing them. They've got Iran with missiles that they cannot defend against. Iran has 20 submarines in the Strait of Hormuz, who can take down anything, anywhere, anytime. It's just, like completely stupid on the part of both the United States and Israel. Israel's being hit now. You know, what are even though there's consensus amongst the Jewish Israelis, that they want a war with Iran, after they get hit and hit again and hit again, there's going to be a change of consciousness there for sure.
Well, unless they plan to use a nuclear option,
Oh,
unless that's the
yeah,
plan. So that
yeah.
could be the plan. Let's take a few blows and see if we can knock them down. Now we'll just nuke them. And even then, that might not work.
Of course not. What are they going to nuke? Like
I don't
some
know. I mean,
underground facility. Like they've got many underground facilities. They've got an underground naval facility. Like it's like they no one nuclear bomb. Like if they want to use nuclear bombs, they're going to have to use it would take
many of them.
like 50 nuclear bombs to destroy the
Which,
military potential of Iran, like, and that
which,
doesn't take into consideration the naval potential of China, which is there, and Russia's there too, like even though Russia's diminished, in terms of international military prowess, like still, all the technology that Russia's providing and defense missiles as well, like Venezuela had the S-300As. But, there's the S-400s and the S-500s, which are probably dispersed there in Iran now to defend against any incoming missiles. So, like like I expect, the United States is going to be routed and all the military bases, U.S. military bases throughout the Middle East, Western Orient are going to be wiped off the map now. You
well,
know,
they have attacked them, but Iran has kept its word and has sent missiles to U.S. military bases. Some missiles are allegedly being shot down, some are getting through. So we'll just have to see how this all plays out as far as one strategy against another. But my main thing as an anti-imperialist fighter is there is no self-defense argument the United States can make. And we need to see if the American population and people in Europe, if the will the Australians, the British, the French, the Germans, the Scandinavians, the Americans, people in South America and Canada, will they stand up and say this is wrong? Because that's going to be very important now that the populations, the civilian populations, will they stand with the civilians of Iran? Because that's what's going to be attacked. There's already been an attack on a school, according to a press TV, and 20 school children were killed in this attack
That
during
wasn't a
during.
sports, that was a sports stadium that 20 people were killed. But before that, there was another attack on a primary school, on a girls'
Yes,
primary school that killed
yes.
85 girls.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I got those numbers wrong, but there have been
Yeah,
attacks.
like
Yeah,
you mix up the massacres, because they're sort of happening, in a string, So I don't see that, this is going to pass, very well through, unless, the Jewish Israelis don't even know about what's happening. Perhaps
yeah.
there's been, a complete media censorship, in Israel right now. Whew, who
And,
knows?
and
Wow.
and right now, Press TV is still on air. Last time they bombed the headquarters, they bombed Press TV. So
Yeah.
hopefully, Iran has multiple sites ready when one of them gets hit, because they're going to try and stop the news coming out of Iran for the
Oh,
world to see. So that the U.S. dominates the propaganda war. The U.S. and Israel. That's what they want. To dominate the
yeah.
propaganda war and to keep the news. And for those people who say they can't support Iran, will shut up and fuck you. Excuse my language,
Yeah.
because right now they're under attack. So if you don't defend the country under attack, what are you doing? No, no, I read this. We can't support Iran. Oh, then you must support the United States.
Huh.
Because at this point, the United States has attacked the country. Israel attacked the country. So you have to defend their right to self-defense. So you defend that right. To not defend Iran is to say, well, it's okay to attack. It's not okay. I mean, it makes your rhetoric kind of stupid. Not yours, but those who are going to take this position. Well, we can't support Iran. They're theocracy. Or well, shut up.
Yeah.
You're you have no legitimacy. People saying that, but the decent people of the world, they need those who listen to this show. You must demonstrate, you must organize, you must get your friends involved, you must show solidarity against Israel and against the United States. There's no other grounds to stand on now.
Yeah, speak to everyone, even on the street,
Yeah.
everybody has to be against this war. And then if they complain about the theocratic nature of the Iranian government, what about the United States government? Look at
What,
their
what, what,
$1
what,
bill, what's written on the $1 bill is "In God we trust." Which God are they talking about? I know. So that's a theocratic regime as much as any other theocratic regime is.
thank you. I appreciate that. And also, I think though we have to admit that there is a um definite shift towards open aggression by the U.S. imperialists over the past 90 days. It hasn't even been 90 days. Most of the aggression was in North America or in the Western Hemisphere against Venezuela, against Cuba, against Mexico, okay, against Nigeria, okay, and now they shifted it to Eastern Asia against Iran. And the Palestinian genocide continues. The genocide against Cuba, the attempted genocide against Cuba is continuing. So now's a good time for Mexico to send the oil to Cuba. Just send the oil. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Send the oil. Just put it on the boat and send it over. No one's going to stop you right now. If they do stop you, well, send some more.
Mm.
Cuba needs the oil. It's a good time. The U.S. is busy somewhere else right now.
Yeah.
It's a good
And
time.
also, it's all out now, like everything that any, country has, in terms of power should now be used against the United States of America. Now's the time to bring down the United States of America.
Yeah, right. I
And
mean, the United States needs to be very lucky that Iran doesn't have missiles that can hit the White House.
yeah,
I mean,
otherwise
I'm
it
just
would be hit.
saying, they need to
Yeah.
be very lucky because who's to say if it gets to the if it got that bad that Iran wouldn't launch that missile, and if it came in, it would be devastating. Because the United
And
States doesn't expect anybody to hit it. And I'm saying to you, a bully never expects on Sunday afternoon walking down the street by the park for one of his friends' dads or moms to get out the car and beat him. The bully that doesn't expect that. The bully doesn't expect for
yeah.
somebody to let a few dogs loose. So a few pit bulls or German shepherds loose when they're away from the front of the playground. But it could
Well,
happen. So
you know, Iran doesn't have to hit the White House to hit the United States of America. They're hitting the United States of America because
right.
Israel is the United States of America.
That's a
Like
good point.
it's just
That's a
a
good point.
colony of the United States. That's all.
Then that's a very good point. And Israel co-authored the attack. They both attacked. So they
Yeah.
both are legitimate targets.
Yeah.
They both
Coordinated.
attacked. Yeah, they
Wow.
both attacked at the same time, which is,
While they're
kind of,
negotiating. While they're negotiating.
well,
Yeah.
negotiations. I hope Russia sees this,
Uh,
that negotiations, and Venezuela too. Did you hear that the United States banned Venezuela from paying for the defense of Maduro?
oh. Oh. Well. Hey. I thought, anybody in an American court has a right to a lawyer. Oh.
No, they can. At least as far as I read a story, I need to get a little more big detail on it. I read a story from a couple of days ago. It wasn't much in the U.S. press. That's why I read Telegram a lot. That's why I'm online a lot because a lot of news you just
Yeah.
don't read on the front pages, but it may be in some thread of some site on Telegram or some other social media site.
Yeah.
But I read that the United States prevented Venezuela from paying for the defense of its president. What is
Uh,
Delcy Rodriguez doing cozying up to the United States then?
yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
this
come
is
on. This is
yeah.
this can't you see what they're gonna do?
Yeah.
They're gonna put your president in jail until he's dead.
Yeah.
Put him in a maximum security prison somewhere in Illinois or Colorado under the ground.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
why'd you let the CIA guy leave without putting him on trial? Should have been arrested right there on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say those things, but you
Yeah.
know, we dealing with someone who has who has vilified your nation like my nation for 409 years. How about learning a few lessons? I'm learning the lessons every day. I'm learning some lessons. Che Guevara's told you can't trust him, not even this much.
Yeah.
They're saying that they cannot pay for legal defense of their president. Why? Tell me why.
Yeah.
Come on, why? It's our president. We want to defend him. We don't pay. We don't pay for his lawyers. No, you can't.
Yeah.
So-called justice. Well, we'll see what happens with this war. Um, I would just also warn the Iranians who are who want an end to a Islamic rule. Do you really want to allow someone who's bombing your country? I'm sorry, are you that stupid? I'm sorry to call you stupid or naive.
Hmm.
I mean, no, come on now. Do you want someone who's bombing your country to influence your government? Let's say you don't like the Islamic regime, okay? You're going to turn to them as your help, ask for your help? Ah, be careful, my friends.
I listen, I
That's
got
all
a
I'm saying.
message on from Marwan Bashir actually, who sent me a video of a person who does an analysis of the economic and military, fallout that could happen. with the Strait of Hormuz being closed. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I've read that they're moving to close it right now.
of
I read
course.
that on an internet site that at this moment they are moving to close it.
Okay. But, only 7% of U.S. Oil consumption comes from the Strait of Hormuz. You
Okay,
know, I mean, the impression is that, that the United States was receiving a lot more, but that's not the case, So the United States, perhaps it thinks it can get through the closure of the Strait of Hormuz without any difficulty because they have their own shale gas and oil and all that shit there, that they're using and burning and destroying. Okay. But
okay.
like China gets 20% of its oil consumption from the Strait of Hormuz. So the United States perhaps has a military strategy in which they think that this is, a blow against China more so than it is a blow against the United States oil consumption. So they don't really care about the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, in terms of, the price of oil going up, okay, it can go up, to 80, 150 from 64 where it is now. But, the American shale oil producers, they don't mind, because their cost of production is $60 a barrel. So if the price of oil is more than $60 a barrel, they're making a profit. You know, it's incredible. But where
Well,
the U.S.
here's a
is
story
being,
for you. This would be interesting for you, especially if
yeah.
this is true. The site that I have, um, the occupied, the foreign ministry of Syria condemned the Iranian attacks on a number of Arab countries.
Well, not the Arab countries themselves, on the American
Oh yeah,
military
I'm
bases
just
in the
saying, right?
American. Yeah,
They're calling acts on Arab countries.
yeah. So the U.S. could bleed, in terms of the uh, the naval fleets can be taken down. One, two, the American military bases and the American military personnel can be taken down, and all the Gulf state bases that the U.S. has there. That's what is probably going to happen. But in terms of, oil cutoff, the United States, that's not, a very heavy weapon there because only 7% of the U.S., oil consumption comes, from there. I mean, American oil consumption, has 40% coming from Canada. Canada is, much more strategic, menace against the United States. If Canada cuts off the oil shipments to the United States and sends them, uh, to Japan, South Korea, and China instead of the United
Yeah.
States, well,
Why don't
like,
we read? How about let's read the Syrian statement? Syrian Foreign Ministry on Saturday condemned Iranian strikes on a number of Arab countries, describing them as violations of their sovereignty and security. The Syrian Arab Republic expresses full solidarity with the brotherly states that were subjected to these heinous attacks. Damascus rejects any threats to the security and stability of these countries and calls on
really?
respect for their sovereign and territorial integrity. Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Syria is doing that. The
This
new
is on
regime
it's
in
on their
Syria is
website.
doing
It's on
that.
their website, Santa Serb Arab News.
Oh,
That's why I always check it out. When I read something online, I go to the source. I learned that being a reporter. Check,
yeah,
make sure it's accurate what you're reading. So
yeah,
they're gonna twist it and say
yeah,
this is an attack on these countries. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Also, there's
disappointing. Very disappointing. And supposedly, a revolutionary, new government like that. They're
well,
idiots, that
let me read
think that they
something
have
else
to,
here.
what? Like they think they're being protected by the United States of America? No way. Israel's
No.
going to take them on and going to take another chunk of territory, while nobody's looking. You know, they think that they're going to get away with this. That kind of an orientation? No way. No.
So according to a source on Al Qassam Toast, it's a thread on Telegram. The Israeli strikes focus on air defense systems, missile launchers, and the Iranian leadership in order to delay this, hopefully try to delay the decision-making process within the country. It's possible that these preliminary strikes carried out to disable the air defense systems Iranian leadership and missile launches will be followed by American bombers, as we have not yet reached the stage of major strike, which is expected to begin tonight. So we'll see if that happens. We'll want to see if this analysis is true, that
Mm,
the U.S. will come in with some heavy hitting tonight and tomorrow night. We'll see. Because
mm,
this one thing about these online sources, that it's like a news station. There's news coming from everywhere, so you have to just ferret out the truth as well as the lies and the misstatements,
hmm.
uh, that kind of thing. So Yemen's Yemen is putting out statements. Hezbollah is putting out statements.
Yes.
Um, and this is done during, isn't there um, some kind of not fast, some kind of big day coming up in 3 days within Ramadan? You start a
No.
war during Ramadan. You're really kind of defiling the whole Islamic tradition to start a war during Ramadan. I mean, you really
Oh
are.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, like last time, the Ramadan is a favorite time, for the reactionaries to start a war because they figure that the Muslims are going to be weaker, supposedly weaker during Ramadan. They're not weaker, they're stronger actually. And they're going
And
to
now
follow
you even
suit.
have you even have this rightist Marjorie Taylor Greene, former member of Congress,
Mm,
rebuking Trump on his strikes on Iran. So he's not all getting all the support he wants, especially from her. She has no filter on her mouth. Let me tell you right now, and that's one of the reasons that she quit Congress because she did not want to ally with Trump anymore on this issue, and that's what's going on.
mm.
Um, so there's gonna be some uh, there's gonna be some response,
Really,
some
because, like what
opposition.
right does Trump have to start a war?
He
Has no
doesn't.
power to do so.
He
No,
doesn't.
it's
He
only
does.
Congress has the exclusive right
No,
to
no,
declare war
that's
in any
no.
other country.
That's that's what we're saying. When people call it authoritarian or a semi-fascist or a fascist regime, they're
Mm,
talking about the fact that no one is even thinking about asking Congress for permission. We just do what we want. What are you
mm,
going to do to us? Nothing. So
mm.
that shows that, and the same thing with the tariffs, the same thing with grabbing Venezuela and telling them they can't pay for their president's defense. Who's going to tell us that we have to? So they'll have to go to the whoever is dealing with that is going to have to go to the U.S. courts to fight that battle because it's
Yeah.
saying that I can't pay for, that's like telling a dad, I can't pay for a lawyer for my son who's facing the death penalty, facing some charges downtown the courthouse. Same kind of thing, you know.
So,
So
I
what
mean,
is
the military, the American military, they were collected into this, meeting one time by Trump, called all the generals in, from both the Navy and the military. And theirs were, this war was planned, it would seem. He was trying to get, consensus, like hegemony over the military. And he wanted to be sure that the military would obey his orders and not, resort to refusing to obey his orders, because Congress has not declared war. But what's the potential of the military splitting? And some of the military, especially the Navy, after they get hit, they
well,
should, like
some
respond
Navy
by
ship
saying,
has
"Oh
already
well, like this is not really a war. We're pulling out of here because it's putting our personnel into danger." Couldn't that happen?
well, a Navy ship has already been hit.
Oh,
Yes. According to Iran, they've already hit a ship pretty badly. And that's what I suspected would happen, that they'll target the ships. You
yeah.
might not be able to hit Israel all the time, but the ship has very limited defense. And that's the one thing
Mm-hmm.
about in my opinion. Now, I'm not a militarist, no. But in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, with the advent of serious missiles and drones,
Mm-hmm.
Yemen was hitting ships, right? Now, they weren't
Yeah.
military ships, all of them, but some of them I think may have been military ships. So
Mm-hmm.
ships are really, in this modern era, a ship got to have its stuff together to come back without being hit
Mm-hmm.
because missiles can hit ships. And it's not like they're going after a land object like something on soil. They're in the middle of water. I don't know what kind of defenses they have, but according to Press TV, a U.S. Let me see if I can get it here because Press TV is still on. They haven't shut it down yet, which is
Yeah,
good
I
for
was
them.
watching it. Yeah. I mean, so there's missiles, both from Iran and Yemen. There's submarines, uh, and there's drones that can hit these ships, and
Yeah.
they can't stop them. I mean, the ships do have anti-missile capabilities, for their self-defense, but they can be swarmed, and all that, can
Right,
be
right, right,
overcome.
right. They can't be swarmed, and that's about it for them.
Yeah.
That's about it for them. So
So, I mean,
anyway,
the Navy is going to want to pull out of there. The Navy is not going to want to stick around. They're going to defy Trump. They
um,
have to in order to survive.
and what we're hearing is that on the USS Gerald Ford, they've
Yeah.
been they've been on deployment for almost a year. There's feces filling up the pipes. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just. I mean, a ship is not on land. It's on the ocean. So,
That's
and they
called
may.
sabotage. So the sailors are sabotaging their own ship in order to
No, no,
prevent.
I'm saying no, no. The ship can't handle all the feces. They can't
I
handle
heard
it.
that that the toilets were being sabotaged, that they were
Well,
throwing toilet paper rolls and mop
they could
head.
be no. That's definitely possible. You know what? Let me defer to you because that sounds more likely.
Yeah.
But I mean, the captains could demand that the ships pull out, and when the general, whoever's in charge, the admirals, they would get court-martialed when they come back, maybe shot, who knows? But no, they could. I mean, they could do that. I mean,
Yeah.
they could. I mean,
They
they're the
better
ones.
do that if we want to survive. Otherwise, they're not going to survive.
Well, I mean, what are the I don't know what the we don't know what the intention or the capacity of the Russian and Chinese support is. Is it is it just logistics? Is it air defense, replacement, or repair? Is it ship attacks? Are the submarines involved in attacking the ships? Because if the U.S. wants to get nasty about it, Iran can get nasty too. And remember, they're attacking their country. It's aggression. It's straight out aggression. It's not like they had some tit for tat somewhere and it just, spiraled. And they're having negotiations. Please, people of the world, stop thinking about U.S. negotiations, okay?
Hmm.
You still there? Please stop. Please stop thinking the U.S. can be negotiated
Negotiations.
with. Stop.
What? Well, it's not negotiations. It's like a
Yeah,
pact
stop.
of
But stop
lies.
even
Like
thinking of
Trump
it.
is saying that he wants Iran, to declare it's not going to obtain a nuclear bomb. Okay, but there was a fatwa like 25 years ago that said they would never take on, building a nuclear bomb because they consider it to be immoral, unethical, against their religion, and it
Well,
is. It's against
well,
any religion. But United States, like Israel,
I
it's
mean,
another
if you
story.
get if you get right down to it, Abraham, in many ways, it's something that we don't want to go back to sometime, but it is who is going to rule the world, the
Hmm.
white European American and Israeli, or people who are not white and brown skin and narrow eyes, and those who speak
Exactly.
those
Yeah.
who speak with a language that is not based on the Western characters. I'm gonna say something people don't think about. Everybody they fight. Like Latin America is based on the Western character, they have a different language. In Iran, it's a different history, it's a different character of their written text. And
Yeah.
they don't when you fight them, you have to go all out to wipe them out because you're superior. There's an element of this in what the United States is doing. That is what um, Rubio was saying in the Munich Security Conference. We have this great, quote unquote, great history of what? Dominating the people who were there before Europe, who had, or in parallel to Europe, had different systems of culture, of language, of science, of community, and we dominated them, and we want to keep dominating them. And now that's who they attack with ferocity: the Chinese. different character, different color skin, different eyes, different language. They have to attack them first.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an aspect of that here we don't talk about, but I think about it all the time.
Racialist.
That's
Yeah.
why it's just racism, straight up racism.
Yeah.
Why people can't just call it out? Come on, man, call it out.
I have
Call it
another
out.
example to confirm
Yeah,
what you're saying, because if you look at what Israel is a white supremacist regime of the Ashkenazi Zionist parties. Okay?
there you go.
Not only is there an apartheid regime imposed on the Palestinians, brown people, and also white, like they're very mixed,
Yes,
and black as well, but they're also an apartheid regime over the Arab Jewish population, who are 50% of the population. The brown-skinned Jewish population of Israel, who come from the Maghreb and the Arab countries, in Yemen, Iraq, and all of those countries, who are Jewish Arabs. And they're there, working as cheap labor, for the Ashkenazi regime and bourgeoisie, So that confirms, what you're saying. This is a white supremacist offensive. This is a war for
yeah. I
white
mean,
supremacy.
if we don't bring that aspect into it, then you lose sight of why are they doing this? Why they fire all the black generals in the U.S. military? They're all gone.
Oh, yeah.
No, the big generals are all gone. They got rid of them.
Uh,
Why are they claiming that white people in South Africa are facing white genocide? Absolute nonsense. Or that
yeah.
white children in Los Angeles don't get equal opportunity education. This is being said by the Trump administration.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Well,
So, I mean, we got to keep it, you got to keep it real on different levels. Someone
yeah.
that says straight up, I'm gonna put them Arabs and then put them Iranians in their place. You
Yeah.
speak this funky language. We can't read your text. You bow to a different God than us. It's
Yeah.
also religious. Come on. It's also religious. Come on. There's so much involved here that we got to tear off. That's why those who say I can't support Iran, man, you're just dumb. You're just stupid right now.
But that's
You're
the big
just
difference this time.
yeah,
During the Iraq offensive, during the Iraq War, when they were lied about the weapons of mass destruction,
right,
71% of the American population was supporting the war on Iraq. Okay,
right.
this time, 21% are supporting the war on Iran.
Isn't that
21%.
something? That means the majority of the country is against you.
Yeah, yeah. This is not the same game
No,
as Iraq. They're not going to be able to pull this off. They're going to suffer. The military is going to suffer. The military is going to want to pull out. And the American people are going to get fed up. Even, the Republicans, like 21%, is, like, a minority, proportion of the Republicans even that are in favor of this war. A majority of the Republicans even are opposed to this war now. And so, like, how is, Trump going to survive, something like that? The only way he can survive, is by repression. And if there's a war, there's no election either. Like this war is going to go on, for a while. It's not going to end right away. And if, Trump, wants to pull a Netanyahu, like there's not going to be Zelensky rather, the Zelensky trick, like there's a war, therefore there cannot be an election, even though Russia had an election that reelected Putin. So the big question is will Trump allow, the election to go ahead in November when he knows that he's going to lose, he's going to be losing. He's going to be losing not his presidency, but he's going to be losing the majority in the Congress and in the Senate. And if he loses the majority in the Congress and Senate, depending on how much he loses, there could be a supermajority to impeach him. Okay? That's what's at stake here. That's what this war is about. Whether or not he's going to lose everything or win everything. This is a very historic, decisive turning point war. And Israel's already being hit. The American military bases are already being hit. A ship has already been hit, like you say. You know, And who knows what's happened, in the minutes, that we've been talking here. There could have been, much more damage done against, the U.S. military. And the
And but these strikes were done during the day, which is unusual
yeah, that's
in the
true.
U.S. because it was nighttime in the United States, which means it's daytime in Iran.
Yeah,
Right. Because what I was hearing is that the military refers to attack at night.
yeah.
So it's what time is it now in Iran? Has to be after midnight, isn't it? I
So
would
let's see,
think.
7 hours difference to Palestine. So a couple more, and about 9 hours difference there. Okay. So yeah, no, it's nighttime, evening time there. Yeah.
Yeah, but,
So
yeah. It's evening, yeah, definitely it's evening. How late, I'm not sure. We can find out though.
yeah.
Let's find out what time it is. What time is it in Iran? Let's see.
Okay, let's I was listening to Al Jazeera and they had, like really good coverage. Press TV, was just talking to itself. They weren't doing any sort of news coverage. So let's see if I can get a share here.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Let's see.
Here it is.
Let's see.
Okay, Al Jazeera coming up.
Yeah, that's right. It is expected to be a very busy Saturday afternoon here at UN headquarters in New York, where at the Security Council, which is the chamber right behind me here, we'll be holding an emergency meeting of the Security Council at 4 p.m. New York time. That's about 3 hours from right now. This meeting was requested by China and Russia primarily, but Bahrain and Colombia, two elected members of the council, also signed on pushing for this meeting that is now confirmed for a few hours from now. Highly unusual for the Security Council to meet in open session on a weekend. It has only happened 10 times in the last 5 years and only twice on a Saturday. So these emergency meetings on weekends are saved only for the most urgent of matters, clearly this being one of them now, of course. We are being told as well that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is expected to attend the meeting, and he will be making opening remarks in the open session of the Security Council that will get underway here shortly.
Okay, thanks so much, Gabe. No doubt we will be talking to you extensively in the coming hours as things begin to get underway there at the UN. Al Jazeera's Tohid Asadi has been speaking to the spokesperson for Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He says Iran is acting in self-defense.
We are facing another unprovoked act of aggression, an egregious act of aggression that is imposed on Iranians. And we have every right, in accordance with international law, with the UN Charter, to defend ourselves with all might. So that's what our armed forces are conducting right now. They are defending national sovereignty and territorial integrity of Iran against this barbaric act of aggression.
All right. We know that the country actually was involved in a trajectory of diplomatic interaction, but with what took place today, can we say that it's a sort of end for hope for the diplomatic track?
That's exactly the point. This is the second time during less than a year that diplomacy was betrayed by Americans. We were negotiating, we were supposed to meet on Monday to talk about technical aspects of any possible deal on nuclear issue. And the Americans themselves acknowledged that these negotiations went quite well. The mediator, Foreign Minister of Oman, qualified these round of negotiations as being of significant progress. But all of a sudden, as you see, the American and Israelis conducted this military aggression against Iran. I would say this is not only a betrayal of diplomacy, This is the betrayal of the trust of the countries of the region. This is the betrayal of the whole UN system, because the main pillar of the UN system, the UN Charter, is the provision of the use of force. And for a second time during the past 9 months, the United States, as a member of the UN Security Council, is launching an act of aggression against another member of the United Nations. So I think what is at stake is not only the security and peace of the region and that of the Iran, but also the whole fabric of international law and the normative system that has been created by the United Nations Charter.
With the escalations ramping up to an unprecedented level, to what extent do you think this confrontation can go for the days and maybe weeks down the road?
We don't know, because you see, as I said, this is something that is imposed on Iran. We never sought war. We were going to resolve this issue diplomatically. And this was the demand of the whole countries of the region and the international community. So this was started by the United States, and we believe that it is just to advance the wings of the Israeli regime. And I think this war would not serve the interests of the American people. This is against their interests, but this is what they chose to do. And I think the consequences would be very dire for everyone. As I already said, just as part of a single attack this morning on a primary school in Minab, more than 61 innocent girls were killed and maimed, and still more than 70 innocent ones are under the rubble.
Previously, we heard from Iran that in case of a U.S. attack, there is a risk for a confrontational scenario down the road in the region. And now we see that the United States bases in the region are being attacked by Iran. And also, there has been widespread condemnation by regional countries who are now coming under attack. My question is, what is Iran's reasoning behind that?
I think they're not really coming under attack by Iran. We have said once and again, and I would like to repeat that we are friendly with all countries of the region. We have proven that we trust our friends in the region. That's why we try to get together with the countries of the region in furtherance of this diplomatic process. The problem is that the United States is conducting this war of aggression at the cost of everyone, including the countries of the region. Under international law, any place, any location, any logistical support that are given to the aggressor are a legitimate target for the victim state. So we are not attacking any country in the region. We are friendly with all countries of the region. What we are doing is just taking defensive actions. We are defending ourselves against attacks by Americans and by the Zionist regime. And as you know, many of these bases, although they are part of the countries of the region's territories, but they are completely controlled by the United States, and they are used, or better to say, abused by the United States in order to launch an act of aggression against another country of the region.
Is it like a credible claim to put forth that in the days ahead, we may see a continuation of Iran's attacks to the US bases in the region?
One thing is for sure, we would continue defending ourselves with all force. We are entitled, we are responsible for the safety and security of our people, and we have every right under international law to defend Iran against this act of aggression.
And speaking of the trajectory of, again, diplomatic interaction, have you received or initiated any sort of contact with the mediating parties, including Oman or elsewhere, to settle down the issues under this situation?
This is a serious issue, and I think now the whole situation is different from yesterday. As you know, the mediator was involved in this very difficult process. We appreciate what Oman and other countries of the region and our neighbors did during the past 1 month. They really tried to convince Americans not to take the path of confrontation and bullying, but unfortunately it seems they failed. So what we are doing right now is to focus on defending our national integrity and Iran's territory against this act of aggression.
The public mood at the time being could be highlighted by a sense of frustration and fear as we speak to people. In this situation, what is Iranian government's response or message to Iranian people?
I think our people understand very clearly that we did whatever we could, whatever was at our disposal to resolve this issue diplomatic. It was not Iran's fault. It is simply an excuse put forward by the Americans. They said 9 months ago that they obliterated Iran's nuclear program. And still they are repeating the same. They are talking about Iran's ballistic missiles. They are talking about some other excuses. They are all big lies put forward to justify this act of aggression. So our people are very clear in their mind that they have to stay strong in the face of this injustice, in the face of this organized military bullying. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, the Iranians will come out of this challenge victoriously.
You're watching our continuing coverage of the joint Israeli and US attacks on Iran. I'm Rishad Salamat. Let's bring you up to date. Tehran is retaliating by launching a wave of strikes targeting Israel and US assets across the Gulf region. The Israeli military says it has struck dozens of military targets across Iran, warning that the attacks will continue as required. Iranian media citing the Red Crescent say at least 201 people have been killed and more than 700 injured. Iran has closed its airspace and cut mobile phone services. It's also vowed that its response to the attack will be, quote, crushing. One of the attacks targeted a girls' primary school in the southern suburb of Minab. Authorities say at least 86 people were killed in the strike. Iran's foreign ministry has condemned the attack, warning that crimes against the Iranian people will not go unanswered. A satellite image captured by Airbus Defence and Space and obtained by the New York Times has revealed what appears to be significant destruction at the office of Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei in Tehran. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has been speaking to US media, saying that as far as he knows, the country's Supreme Leader and President are still alive. Sirens have been sounding across Israel after the latest wave of airstrikes launched from Iran. The Israeli military says air defense systems are working to intercept the missiles. Some have made impact in parts of the country. Iran has also launched strikes on US assets across the region. Sites in Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Bahrain have all been targeted. This was the moment a missile hit Bahrain's capital, Manama. Authorities say the strike targeted the service center for the US Fifth Fleet headquarters. Iranian drones have also struck several residential buildings in the Bahraini capital. It is not yet known if there are casualties. Kuwait International Airport has been damaged in a drone attack. Authorities say a number of employees had been injured as a result. Kuwaiti officials say the situation is now under control. In the United Arab Emirates, both Dubai and Abu Dhabi have come under attack. One person has been killed in the Emirati capital. The defense ministry said, quote, it reserves the full right to respond to this escalation.
Among the first victims of the attack by Israel and the US on Iran were here at a girls' primary school in southern Iran. People had to dig through the debris to search for survivors next to what appears to be a school backpack lying in the rubble. In Tehran, the strikes hit some of Iran's most important sites, including the Ministry of Defense, the Atomic Energy Organization, and the Pashin military complex. Strikes also hit near the offices of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Israel has said it is targeting dozens of military sites in Iran in coordination with the United States. President Donald Trump said the US will destroy Iran's nuclear and missiles programs.
The United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
Trump has repeatedly accused Iran of attempting to rebuild its nuclear program, saying Tehran must never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. Iran has stood by its nuclear program, saying it was always for civilian purposes. Trump also called on Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard to lay down their arms. Inside Iran, hospitals have been placed on high alert, with ambulances dispatched from across the capital. The attacks come despite representatives from Washington and Tehran holding indirect negotiations in Geneva this week. And as Iran's retaliatory strikes aim for US targets in neighboring countries, the region is facing fears it could be dragged into a wider, longer conflict. Perry Wilton, Al Jazeera.
Well, we have a team of correspondents in Washington, D.C., Ramallah, in the occupied West Bank, and Doha, of course, the UN head.
Yeah, well, we got ourselves here to make the commentaries because we know what is the real issue here. There's a point that I can make, considering that this offensive has been launched on Saturday. Okay. Now, according to Judaism, Saturday is the Sabbath, the Shabbos, which is an indication that, Israel is not the determinant factor here. It's not Israel that decided, to launch a war on Shabbos. And, that would lose them, a certain measure of attention, amongst the Jewish population. Okay, so if this is any indication of the relationship between the United States and Israel, the indication is that it's the United States that decides. It's Trump that has decided, to launch this war, not Israel. Unlike some sectarians who like to comment, that Israel is controlling the United States of America, that Israel has bought off all the American politicians, to be pro-Zionist. Really, the United States of America is the United States of America. And Israel is just, little Israel there, like to claim that Israel is controlling the United States of America is not only sectarian, it's also stupid and anti-Semitic. And, it's leftists, who are being anti-Semitic in this case. And I denounce them for that reason. It's not Israel that's controlling the world, and that's, a Nazi argument. And those who use the term Jewish supremacy as the motivation, for the suppression of the Arab states and of the Palestinians in particular, and Gaza in more particular, they don't know what they're talking about, because that was just, a terminology that was used by the Israeli opposition dissident group, B'Tselem, who were referring to the fact that the Zionists were trying to occupy all of the lands there and the exclusion and expulsion of the Palestinians for the sake of Jewish supremacy, in their own words, in Zionist terms. But that's a Zionist term. It is not, a Jewish term. Judaism does not call for supremacy. Imperialism does. And Zionism is just a part of imperialist, colonial enterprise. And they continue to operate on that basis. And they are operating on behalf of the United States of America. The United States of America is not operating on behalf of Israel. Israel is a tool. The United States is the master. And Trump is the dictator right at this time. how is the United States of America, with only 21% support for this war, going to allow this thing to continue? There has to be some sort of a mechanism that can stop this. Then what stopped tariffs was the Supreme Court. Can the Supreme Court stop a war? It never has before. We'll see what happens here. What's going to happen in the United States? Steve, like it all depends upon the American people now. Are they going to stop this war or not?
Well, if we have an authoritarian fascist regime and we're talking about international politics, even in Minnesota, where the demonstrations forced the retreat from Minneapolis, ICE is still in Minnesota. They're in the rural areas.
Ah,
So I think the demonstrations are important, Abraham. I think the worldwide demonstrations are important. I think protests are important. I think civil disobedience is important. I don't think, however, that will stop the war. But I can be wrong. The reason why I say that is labor is not involved in general strikes.
hmm,
Labor is not bringing the economy to a close, to a halt. As
hmm,
long as business goes on as usual, even an anti-war movement will be less effective. Business
hmm,
must come to an end. Something must come to a halt. It doesn't mean occupying the freeways. It means people not going to work or not spending money or doing something that the regime in Washington will see, oh, this is happening here. We need to, this could be a problem. The
hmm,
military, like you said, the soldiers not fighting. I haven't
hmm,
seen too many Air Force pilots not drop bombs.
hmm,
They tend to drop the bombs they're told to drop.
hmm.
So we'll have to just see. The protests will occur, either sectarian or united front. Um, most people are confused. The common person is confused as to what's going on, and they spend time paying their bills and going to work and buying gasoline and cooking food and not getting involved in political affairs. And that is not appropriate now, especially because this could get way out of control. If nuclear weapons are involved here, then what I'm seeing with the bombing of the school, we could be seeing the beginning of a Gaza type attack.
Hmm.
And that was done by Israel, I'm pretty sure. The United States may have done it, but I think Israel attacked the school. That's what
Hmm.
they do.
Yeah.
You could start seeing infrastructure will attack the infrastructure of the country,
Hmm.
especially if we can diminish your ability to stop our missiles. And
Hmm.
instead of singing in truce, we'll just do what we did in Gaza. We had troops in Gaza, ground troops, yeah, but we'll just attack the infrastructure. We'll see. I think what's really important, what's going to happen in the United Nations this afternoon, quite frankly.
Well,
Not
there's
that
also
not that
the attempted assassination of Khomeini, like
again,
the
yeah, right,
Zionist strategy, same kind of
right,
thing.
right,
Yeah.
same kind of thing. And this is where more people have to say, we don't endorse this as Americans. We don't endorse your killing other leaders because nobody's killing you. Nobody can kill you. So how can we endorse your killing other leaders? And that's what we do. That's what U.S. imperialism does. So
Yeah.
if enough people can say we don't endorse this, and we're gonna fight this until it ends, that will be the best outcome of this. We'll see. I mean, how could we have imagined tens of thousands of people battling the bitter cold in Minnesota a month and weeks ago against the murder of anti-ICE protesters? It would have been unthought about. So we'll see how people respond. On
Yeah.
the international issues, Americans aren't that good. They're not. They're not that good. And the Vietnam War was a different period. That was a period of anti-colonial revolutions. That's not what we have now. We have retrenchment of colonial revolution, even though we have some outbreaks in some parts of Africa. the anti-colonial movements have been pushed back.
Yeah. This is recolonization. Yeah.
Right, right. We're in a period of recolonization. So, the president of Venezuela is in a U.S. jail. Unprecedented.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really something to think about. The president of a country. I mean, I to be frank with you, I don't think Russia wants to imprison Zelensky. Not why. I mean, come on, it's not
No.
even on the agenda.
Yeah, he's a
Um,
nothing.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but why? I mean, why even do it? It was a waste of your resources, you know. I mean, so we see the U.S. going beyond. So what I'm saying is, if Americans can see that the U.S. is going beyond the pre-established limits of its actions, then you say, well, what's going on here? What can I do? Am I going to keep my head down? That's the old American saying, keep your head down and get in trouble. Well, you
Mm,
know,
mm.
that will lead you nowhere. Keep your
Yeah.
head down.
Yeah.
I'm saying a very self-centered, self-preservation kind of way. I
Yeah.
mean, gasoline, oil prices should shoot up. They
Yeah.
should be going up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Even though what you're saying is true about the U.S. oil supply, and how that might not be impacted by the Straits of Hormuz being shut, it's still symbolically something. So
Yeah.
we'll
They'll have
see what
oil, but it's going to cost, twice as much. That's all.
right, right, which is going to hurt people's pocketbooks, which is going
Yeah.
to piss people off and raise prices. And like I
Yeah.
said, a gallon of orange juice costs double the price of a gallon of gasoline. Just
Yeah.
take that into consideration for a minute.
Yeah.
United States right now, orange juice is double the price, over two times the price of a gallon of gasoline.
Hmm.
And that's food. We'll see. I mean, we just have to see. Our history on this, the history on this is not good in the United States. Anti-imperialist politics, or the Democrats and the nonprofits. Forget that you don't hear none. You might hear, oh, you didn't ask for congressional approval. Okay, big deal. Okay.
Hmm.
They don't care about congressional approval.
Yeah.
They don't care about that. That's clear. They don't care about congressional approval.
Yeah.
You saw the picture of Trump,
Yeah.
Hegseth,
Yeah.
Trump, Hegseth, Rubio, and Vance. You saw that picture, right? They don't care
Yeah.
about. They don't, they
Yeah.
all wear the same
None of
color
those.
suit.
Yeah.
They don't care about Congress.
Same color
They do
tie.
what they do what they want. So we'll just see how. Expect nothing from Congress. Expect nothing from the Senate.
Oh,
No, I'm sorry, just expect nothing because they're milk totes and they support it. So you'll hear something in the elections if there are elections. Um, but we could be
what about the
seeing.
working class? What about the working class?
Well, I'm gonna
They're
tell I'm
going
gonna tell
along with
you.
this? They're
I'm
doing the
no
war production. They're
the
creating the
organized
bombs.
the organized working class will fight back. They will demonstrate.
Okay.
But the most Americans are not organized to fight back.
Yeah.
They could care less. I mean, even though they'll poll. Yeah, I'm opposed to it. They'll poll, but will they get active and get in
Uh,
the streets or do something else besides polling?
yeah. What about
Okay, I mean,
not showing up to work to make any more missiles? Like that would help.
those
But they're
those
doing
those
it.
are the
The
most
working class
those are the most
is guilty. The American working class is guilty of fascism. They've gone fascist.
there. I
I'm
mean,
very pessimistic.
the people who work. I've had debates about this. The people who work at Northrop Grumman, who work for Raytheon, who work for the missile systems. Remember, they're extremely reactionary. They screen out anybody. They screen you very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't. They screen. They screen. Okay, so I'm not saying you won't have an opposition or two there, but those bombs pay their paychecks.
Yeah.
So bomb, baby, bomb. Okay,
Yeah.
Google. All the anti-apartheid, anti-Zionist apartheid activists were wiped out at Google. They fired them.
Ah, yeah.
Remember, there were some there.
Yeah.
So in the tech sector, you'll find some opposition.
Yeah.
And in the national security sector, you may find some in the civilian like CIA supports. You might find places like there's a couple companies whose name I'm not going to mention, whose employees were people like the brother who's in Russia right now. His name doesn't come to mind, but people like that may that sector of the American people might say, this is interesting. I mean, them, the ones who make the missiles, the ones who make the helicopters, the ones who make the tanks, the ones who makes the guns, the ones who makes the bullets. They're not. I mean, in generally speaking, they screen them very well,
Mhm.
so you don't get any opposition from them.
Okay,
Never, you can't. I mean, so
I
teachers.
understand.
Okay, you got me. So, um,
So, that leads to one conclusion. I'm not an American. I'm not in the United States. I can't be prosecuted for saying this. But the alternative is sabotage. These factories have to be taken down. War production has to be shut down. That's the way in which an effective anti-war opposition can take place in the United States of America. Those factories cannot be allowed to continue. If the working class is not going to do the job, that has to be taken down, by other means. And that can be done, like any factory is dependent upon its energy supply. That's, vulnerability right there and then, you know. Uh, and also the working class, who go to work there, they have to be approached, they have to be leafleted, they have to be educated so that they will not, agree, so they know that, so at least they will know that there's an alternative. They have to be, it's the working class. The focus has to be on the working class there. Now, the factories have to be taken down without harming the working class, of course. So there has to be, a sabotage of the apparatus. And if there's, working class members who are willing to participate in that sabotage, then all the better. They can be done more easily from the inside. Just like, the sailors who are sabotaging their toilets in order to stop their ships from functioning anymore. Okay? That's the way out of this. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if, the protesters and the anti-war opposition are willing to do that. But that's what's required now. Because, demonstrations are necessary, but they're not going to be the solution to this war. This war is too serious. And it has to be done immediately. It cannot be allowed to continue on in this basis. That's what I have to say. And I'm safe here in Canada for saying so. So perhaps we should end on that note. And let's get back, to watching the news. And then if we find it necessary, let's come together for another transmission on what the alternative is to war here. Okay?
sounds good to me. Thank you. All right.
Okay. Let's see now if I can find the button. Yeah. Yeah. And now we can say this is here now for the what is it, the 30th of February of the year 2026. We should date these videos, so that they have some historic context and that could be referred to. So this is it, like everybody has to help out here. This transmission here is crucial to educating people on what to do. So please share this everywhere that you can for those who are viewing this. And you are an essential mechanism in the anti-war opposition. And here we are, here and now, again, anti-war, Antifa.